You can turn around now. I know the most important people are behind you, not in front of you. Good morning and welcome everybody. I'm Geoff Garrett, I'm Dean of the Wharton School, and it's my real honor, pleasure and privilege to be here this morning for the first of our graduation ceremonies this weekend, but also the highest of our graduation ceremonies. There is no higher degree, no higher honor that a university can confer on anybody than the degree of PhD, the doctorate. So welcome to this Wharton Doctoral Program's graduation. I don't have any notes this morning because when I speak about PhD education, for me it's always very simple and from the heart. Doing a PhD is a massive commitment. You're typically somebody who's come out of an undergraduate university with many, many opportunities in life. And to choose to go down the path of a PhD can look kind of weird to a lot of your friends. When they're going off to glamorous cities and earning lots of money, you choose to come to a university and put your head down and work really, really hard for a long number of years. That's an incredible commitment, but it's certainly one that I think pays lifelong dividends no matter what you do in the rest of your life. The personal part for me is simply to say that I grew up in Australia. I thought I was going to live my life in Australia, work in the Australian government the way that my father did, my brother and sisters still do to this very day. I grew up in a government town. That was my worldview. Coming to the United States to do a PhD ended up changing my life. Why did it change my life? It changed my life because of the mentorship I received from faculty and from my fellow students. When I was in a PhD program, I fell in love with research. That research then allowed me to stay in the United States, to get to live a life that I literally could never have envisaged growing up in Canberra in Australia. So the PhD, some people think of PhDs as being kind of a monastic thing. You're struggling in some small, I'll make a play on words on my name, you're struggling in a garret somewhere under candlelight and, it's sort of very Oxbridgian of the 15th century. Obviously, that's not the way PhD education works today, but I think the underlying principles that have been with universities since the very beginning are nowhere better embodied than in PhD programs. So I'm speaking to the graduates who are here today. We all know just how much you have put in to be in this place today, to earn your doctoral degrees. I also want to say to you that I hope and I'm sure that for you, as it was for me, this is really only the beginning, not the end of what your love affairs with research will mean for your lives. So this morning, all I really need to do now is some welcomes. The first welcome is to so many of my faculty colleagues who are here this morning. I think it's fair to say that PhD graduation is their favorite graduation ceremony because of the closeness of the relationships that our faculty have with you, the doctoral students. Second welcome is to people sitting a little behind those of us in funny puffy hats this morning. You must all have incredible pride. You should have incredible pride in what these students have achieved, but they know and we know that they couldn't be here without all of the support that you have provided over such a long period of time. So welcome to the Wharton School to you. And then the last but not least welcome, of course, is also a big thank you to our PhD graduates. So congratulations on getting here today, but thank you for the fact that you will now represent the Wharton brand and the fact that Wharton is the preeminent research business school in the world. You'll represent that for the rest of your lives, so thank you for doing that so wonderfully well for us. Those of you who've been here before know something that those of you who haven't don't know and are in for a treat for. I think the highest mark of respect that can be given to the sanctity of the doctoral degree and the incredible achievements of our doctoral students is that my friend and colleague, the Deputy Dean Mike Gibbons, always delivers a talk at doctoral graduation, which is a research talk. It's a research talk without so many squiggles and numbers, but often with a great deal of wisdom, insight, and always delivered with Mike's wonderfully wry and dry sense of humor. Could you join me in welcoming Mike Gibbons to the podium?
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Congratulations, class of 2018. Today you begin your path forward. You have earned the highest level of education, a degree of mythic status, because few choose to pursue a doctorate and even fewer sit where you do now. We are proud to call you our colleagues. Over the past few years, we have watched you develop research ideas. You are never sure that will lead, where that will lead, and often surprised by where it takes you. Perhaps there is no road, as Doc Brown says in Back to the Future clip. Perhaps you're the pioneer. That, of course, is the fascination with research. We doggedly pursue an idea to solve an immediate and singular problem, and then it all works out as planned. Well, okay. It's likely that it works out, but not necessarily exactly as planned. But that's the thrill of blazing the path. Unlike Doc Brown, Carl Fisher wanted to go where there was no path, and he needed roads. Carl needed roads to increase the sales of automobiles. Carl made a fortune in automobile headlights, and he sold his company to Union Carbide for $9 million in 1913, which is worth in today's dollars about $220 million. He then opened the first car dealership in Indianapolis, Indiana, and on the side, he helped develop a nearby racetrack, the Indianapolis Speedway. In 1909, he improved the dangerous stone track by paving it with 3.2 million bricks, hence the Speedway's nickname, the Brickyard. This gave Carl a great idea. He could sell more cars if the roads were paved. And in 1912, less than 9% of all roads in the United States were paved. That would be like taking a drive on I-95 from Maine to Florida with the only paved section between Philadelphia and Washington. Carl didn't want to just pave around Indianapolis. He wanted to pave a road from New York to San Francisco, which is more than 3,000 miles. Carl put together a dinner meeting and got his guests fired up about his $10 million idea. The men at the dinner were like the CEO of Goodyear, and they had an invested interest in increasing car sales. And the group pledged $1 million for the project. Thanks to Carl's marketing genius, everybody contributed to the planned road, now named the Lincoln Highway in honor of the 16th president. Thomas Edison, former President Theodore Roosevelt, and then President Woodrow Wilson. Everybody gave except Henry Ford, who was waiting for the government to fund it, and according to him, the government wouldn't pay for it if private investors did. Lincoln Highway finally had its inaugural road trip in 1919, led by a military convoy. Next few slides were great. It was the worst road trip ever. It took 62 days for more than 80 trucks, cars, and motorcycles to make the trip. Going westward past Nebraska, There were, of course, ditches of sand and mud, camping on mountain roads, rationing of water, and, of course, pushing of vehicles. The convoy averaged a little more than 6 miles per hour for the entire ordeal. However, the crowd cheered when it finally got to San Francisco, and the trip generated national enthusiasm for building roads. A soldier named Dwight Eisenhower joined the caravan at the last minute in New York, and the journey made a lasting impression on him. In 1956, as president, he signed the National Interstate and Defense Highways Act, and to support the giant smoothly paved roads for today. And thanks to him and Carl Fisher, a New York trip to San Francisco takes now about 43 hours. Carl's legacy lives on with signs commemorating his Lincoln Highway achievement from New York to San Francisco.
The goal point for re-entry is 2,990 miles from where we want Colonel Glenn to land. If we assume that's the Bahamas, 544 miles per hour of 46.56 degrees, 2,990 miles. Okay, so that puts your landing zone at 5.0667 degrees north, 77.3333 degrees west, which is here. Give or take 20 square miles.
I like her numbers.
You may recall this scene of a woman mathematician who was put on the spot to calculate John Glenn's NASA space capsule landing to the befuddled men at NASA. In this movie, Hidden Figures, this is an actress playing a mathematician. But now we have a reversal. Back in the 1940s, there was a real scientist who made a living playing a Hollywood actress, and her recognition came decades later. Hedy Lamarr was born in Vienna to a prosperous family. She was well educated and interested in how things work, but she turned to an acting career. After a brief European film career, she married a wealthy Austrian man who was a military weapons dealer. Once married, her possessive husband no longer wanted her to act, and he forced her to attend his meetings about developing weapons. He hoped to put an end to her acting career, but by 1938, she fled the oppressive marriage and went to American movies. Promoted as the world's most beautiful woman, Hollywood hoped she would be the next Marlene Dietrich. But her breathtaking beauty proved to be a disadvantage, and she was typecast. Hedy remarked about her career, "Any girl can be glamorous. All you have to do is stand still and look stupid." Although she was earning $7,000 per week, think about that number and think about the time, which translates into more than $300,000 per week in today's dollars. She was bored. To occupy her time, Hedy began to tinker around with inventions. In response to World War II, she became intrigued with improving the efficiency of American torpedoes, which had a target accuracy rate of less than 40%. It seemed that she had been paying close attention to torpedo technology in those long-ago meetings with her former husband. Hedy's idea was to use radio signals to help torpedoes accurately hit their targets. But radio signals could easily be jammed by the enemy. So to prevent that, she imagined using radio signals that would change rapidly, frequency hopping. To implement this, she recruited a composer and a pianist, George Antheil, and the result was a device based on the musical concept with 88 frequencies, just like the notes of a piano. Hedy pitched the idea to the Navy, but she was too advanced for them. They nodded politely, rejected her idea, and suggested she use her looks to raise money for America's war effort. In spite of her disgust and frustration with the all-male Navy Council, she nevertheless appeared at a war bonds rally. She offered to kiss anyone who bought more than $25,000 in war bonds. She raised $7 million in one appearance. Not bad. In 1942, Hetty and George were granted a patent for secret communication systems. In the 1950s, the Navy finally caught up with Hetty's thinking, and in the 1960s, they developed a device for use during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was just the beginning. Hetty's invention is actually the basis of spread spectrum technology, evident in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, wireless phones, and the multi-billion-dollar U.S. missile defense system. Neither Hetty nor George received any money for the commercialization of their patent. In 1997, George had died. Hetty was finally recognized with an award from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and her lukewarm reception to the award was, "It's about time." I have colleagues like that, by the way. The only acting award, now this is a good part, you want to pay attention now. The only acting award that Hetty won was in 1949. And the award was the Sour Apple Award for the least cooperative actress. But her invention has generated books, awards for her, and awards for named in her honor, a movie and a play, not to mention a Google Doodle in 2014 to honor her 101st birthday. By now, you may get my drift. Rewards for even our greatest ideas sometimes come later rather than sooner. So, you've heard about Carl Fisher, you've heard about Hedy Lamarr, and how their innovative work transformed the lives of millions. My third and final person is A. Philip Randolph. Philip's mission was to help improve economic fortunes of African Americans, and he believed that trade unions were an efficient way to accomplish his goals. After completing college in Florida, Philip moved to New York City, and in 1911, he worked there as a waiter, an elevator operator, and a porter while he continued his education at City College and NYU. His wife, Lucille Green, was a successful entrepreneur who provided financial support and allowed him to work full-time on social activism. By 1925, Philip was organizing more than 10,000 black railroad workers in the Brotherhood of the Sleeping Car Porters. They were shut out of all white labor unions, such as the Order of Sleeping Car Conductors. At that time, porters, who relied on tips for a living wage, traveled 11,000 miles, worked 400 hours per month for a grand salary of $810 per year, which is equivalent to less than $10,000 in today's dollars. Over time, through Philip's successful unionization and support of federal legislation, Pullman porters made a significant contribution to the creation of the black middle class. But discrimination in the unions continued, and in 1942, Philip had a dream: to lead a march on Washington for labor equality. Inspired by Gandhi's mass demonstrations in India, he wanted to protest hiring discrimination against African Americans seeking jobs in wartime defense industry. Although Philip secretly made plans for black churches to provide accommodations for the marchers, he publicly stated the marchers were going to stay in Washington hotels and eat in Washington restaurants, both of which were segregated at the time. President Roosevelt, fearing riots, forbid the march. Desperate and wise, Philip turned to Eleanor Roosevelt, who prevailed on the president to meet with a civil rights leader. After the meeting, Philip agreed to suspend the march, and President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 8802, which prohibited racial discrimination in factories involved in the war effort. The executive order had far-reaching effects. It redistributed the black population in the United States. Millions of African Americans moved from the South to the North for factory jobs. It sparked Executive Order 9981, which effectively abolished racial segregation in the American Armed Forces. But Philip never gave up his dream for the mass demonstration that was suspended in 1942. 21 years later, on Wednesday, August 28, 1963, Americans gathered to see A. Philip Randolph introduce Martin Luther King at the now famous March on Washington. And here he is in front and center with the other civil rights leaders on the day of the march. Although A. Philip Randolph may not be a household name for some of us, his name is on the landscape around the country as a reminder that a single idea can evolve into a force for social justice. Without the persistence of Carl, Hetty, and Philip, neither they nor we would have reaped the rewards from their work. With your education, skills, and accomplishments, you should not be surprised to find yourself, like Carl, Hetty, and Philip, wandering down an untrodden path. We know your potential, and we will not be surprised if it happens. Thank you very much. So, Catherine Schrand is the Celia Zemo Professor of Accounting. Kathy received her PhD from the University of Chicago and her BBA from the University of Michigan. For today, Kathy's most important distinction is as a Vice Dean and Director of the Wharton Doctoral programs. Kathy began her role as Vice Dean in 2016 and has truly done an extraordinary job of supporting and contributing to the success of each graduate here today. Please welcome Dr. Kathy Schrand.
Good morning, everyone. You, the graduates, your family, your friends, your advisors, are surely excited and proud today, and you really don't need me to tell you the significance of your accomplishments. The PhD degree is the highest degree that the University of Pennsylvania and the Wharton School can bestow on any individual. You know the work that went into it. But I will remind you of some of your own words about what getting a PhD means to you. Not just getting the degree, but getting the training to go on to the next stage of your professional life. These are quotes from two present students in the audience from your applications. So to the person who wanted to become a professor to conduct research with high policy relevance, you did it. And now you can fulfill your second professional goal to continue to learn and make lives better. And to the person who was excited to pursue their passion for research, experience the thrill of discovery, you're here, it's done. And now you can fulfill your wish to spend your career asking questions and creating a more efficient world for the future. Congratulations. These are only two examples, but all of you expressed similar thoughts in your applications. I want you to think back to the desire you had to get a PhD 5 or 6 years ago, what you wrote in your own application, and the promise for the future that would come with this degree that you're getting today. All of you have achieved that dream, this most important step in your professional life. Congratulations and best wishes on the rest of your journey. It is now the time of the ceremony where we'll begin the official conferral of degrees. So for our PhD graduates, for each one, I will announce the graduate's name, read their dissertation title, read their advisor's name. The students should come forward up the left-hand side of the stage with your hood on your left arm. The advisors should come up on the right-hand side of the stage, and the official hooding will happen center stage. You'll get to shake Dean Garrett and Deputy Dean Gibbons' hands and receive your certificate of doctoral achievement. And then everyone will be at this front of the stage. Remember to face forward for your photo. Okay, let's begin the official ceremony. So we're going to go in order of the departments of the Wharton School. So first we have 2 graduates from the accounting department. The first one is Michael Carneal. His dissertation is titled Redundant Information and Predictable Stock Price Returns. I was his dissertation advisor, so I am going to hood Michael. Okay, next from accounting, we have Kevin Smith. His dissertation is titled Essays on Information and Derivative Markets. His advisor is Robert Verrecchia, and Robert will be hooding him. Okay, now for the Applied Economics Department. The first graduate is Amanda Chuan. Her dissertation is titled Essays on Human Capital and Altruism. Her advisor is Iwan Barnkay, and Iwan will be hooding her. Next, we have Benjamin Hyman. His dissertation is titled Essays in Public Economics and International Trade. His advisors are Giles Duranton and Ann Harrison, and Ann will be hooding him. Also from Applied Economics, we have Lindsay Relihan. Her dissertation is titled Local Interactions Between Firms and Consumers. Her advisor is Giles Duranton, and Todd Sinai will be hooding Lindsay. Now from the Finance Department, the first graduate is Anna Kararaton. Her dissertation is titled Essays in Empirical Banking. Her advisor is João Gomes, and João will be hooding her. Next, we have Tatiana Davidyuk from Finance. Her dissertation is titled Essays on Banking and Asset Pricing. Her advisors are João and Amir Yaron, and João and Amir will be hooding her. Also in finance, we have Hongjun Ran. His dissertation is titled Essays on Mutual Funds. His advisor is Jules van Binsbergen, and Jules will be hooding him. Next, we have the Healthcare Management and Economics Department. First, Amelia McFadden Bond. Her dissertation is titled Nonlinear Physician Performance Contracts. Her advisor is Ashley Swanson. Guy David will be hooding her. Next, in Healthcare Management and Economics is Vicki Chen. Her dissertation is titled Paying to Stay, Effects of Vertical Integration and Competition in a Post-Acute Care Setting. Her advisor is Guy David, and Guy will be hooding her. Also in healthcare, we have Emma Boswell-Dean. Her dissertation is titled Impacts of Pharmaceutical Price Controls on Pricing, Sales, and Market Level Quality, Evidence from India. Her advisor is Guy David, and Guy and Mark Pauly will be hooding her. Also in healthcare, we have Kanhee Lucy Kim. Her dissertation is titled The Determinants and Implication of Firms' Workforce Configuration, the Case of Home Health. Her advisor is Guy David, and Guy and Mark Polly will be hooding her. Still in healthcare, we have Caroline Lee. Dissertation is titled Essays on Universal Health Coverage in Indonesia. Her advisor is Mark Polly, and Mark will be hooding Caroline. In healthcare, Evan Saltzman, his dissertation is titled Managing Adverse Selection in Health Insurance Markets, Evidence from the California and Washington ACA Exchanges. His advisor is Aviv Nevo, and Aviv and Mark Polly will be hooding him. And in healthcare management, Stephen Daniel Schwab, his dissertation is titled, You Had Me at Hello, The Effects of Disruptions to the Patient-Physician Relationship. His advisor is Robert Burns. Guy David will be hooding Stephen. Now, from the management department, the first graduate is Andrew Boyson. His dissertation is titled Out of Focus, Competitive Dynamics of Partial Substitutability. His advisor is Daniel Leventhal, and Daniel will be hooding him. Also from management, we have Fabo Gibbons. His dissertation title is Exploring the Multi-Trillion-Dollar Question, How Resource Dynamics Shape Long-Term Profit Patterns. His advisor is Nikolai Sigelko, and Nikolai will be hooding him. Next, from the marketing department, we have Kathleen T. Lee. Her dissertation is titled 3 Essays on the Estimation of Average Treatment Effects in Quasi-Experimental Panel Data. Her advisor is Christoph Vandenbolt, and Christoph will be hooding Kathleen. Next from marketing, we have Tong Joy Liu. Her dissertation is titled Essays on Dynamic Updating of Consumer Preferences. Her advisors are Eric Bradlow and Wes Hutchinson, and Eric and Wes are here to hood Tong Joy. Also for marketing, we have Shalina Cerna. Her dissertation is titled The Perception of Multitasking. Her advisors are Ram Schrift and Gal Zuberman, and Ram Schrift is here to hood her. Again, in marketing, we have Abhinav Uppal. His dissertation is titled Selling Formats in Retailing in Developed and Emerging Economies. His advisor is Jagmohan Raju, and Ron Berman will hood him. Finally, from marketing, we have Liangbin Yang. Her dissertation is titled Inferring Individual Preferences and Latent Behavioral Factors with Incomplete Information. Her advisors are Eric Bradlow and Peter Fader, and Eric will hood Liangbin. From the Operations, Information, and Decisions Department, the first graduate is Brad Bitterly. His dissertation is titled The Interpersonal Consequences of Humor. His advisor is Maurice Schweitzer, and Maurice will hood Brad. Also, from Operations, Information, and Decisions, we have Yuran Fu. Her dissertation is titled Essays on Empirical Operations Management in Retail Sales and Service. Her advisors, Marshall Fisher and Sergei Netison, will be hooding her. And also from OID, we have Robert Mislavsky. His dissertation is titled Measuring Preferences for Uncertainty. His advisor is Yuri Simonson, and Yuri will hood Robert. From statistics, the first graduate is Samir Deshpande. His dissertation is titled Bayesian Model Selection and Estimation Without MCMC. His advisor is Edward George, and Ed George will hood him. So from statistics, Coleman Humphrey. His dissertation is titled Matching, the Search for Control. His advisors are Shane Jensen and Dylan Small, and Shane and Dylan are here to hood him. And from statistics, Matthew Olson. His dissertation is titled Essays on Random Forest Ensembles. His advisor is Addie Weiner, and Addie is here to hood him. Thank you. That concludes our official ceremony, except for one last thing. We're going to invite all of the graduates to come on stage for a big group picture, after which we can all proceed to the lobby for the reception. So let us take one last opportunity to give a big cheer for all the graduates here today.